Hello and welcome back to the Cricket Nerds podcast. I'm Zach. I'm joined by James and Benj after what has been a long but good IPL. How are you, Benj?
Oh, it's been yawn.
How are you, James?
You know what? I'm really good, and I think it's the right time for the IPL to come to a close. I'm looking forward to new horizons, but also I'm looking forward to reflecting today on what the IPL's been and how much we've all enjoyed it.
It's been an eye opener. Players have performed who we didn't even know they existed, and there have been players who underperformed who going in we would have said would have had a standout season. So let's just get into it. Rajasthan Royals lost to the Gujarat Titans. Titans won by 7 wickets with a comfortable number of balls remaining. And Rajasthan batted first, and they didn't get off to the flyer they would have liked. James, what was your thoughts on their power play?
It was when I first saw Sanju Samson won the toss and elected to bat, I was expecting like the fastest pitch in the world. I was expecting an absolute batting track, because otherwise you just don't. And Jaiswal got off to a bit of a flyer, which I thought was very good. And Butler, he was looking kind of like he had after his first century in the IPL. So like he was looking to play sort of run a ball, get his eye in, and then build an innings from there. So first couple of overs, I was like, you know what? It's not the worst thing I've ever seen. Jaiswal was looking quite fluent. And then he managed to pick out Sai Kishore, I think that's how you pronounce his name, at deep square leg. And yeah, so that was only in the I think it was the end of the fourth over, or third over or something, fourth. And that was kind of where things started to go badly for them, because it was, I mean, that was basically the downhill. I thought Jaiswal was probably their best player, and he looked the best. And then Butler suddenly, he didn't seem like he could hit a thing. And then Samson played a classic cameo of 14 off 11. He just, I've actually been quite disappointed with Samson this season, because for all the class that he shows, he just hasn't gone on to do a big score, really. And that's what Rajasthan really needed, I think. Yesterday was the day that Rajasthan could have really done with Sanju Samson picking up the slack. But I think, from there, that was where things compounded. But it was more a story of the bowling, I thought. Benj, what was your opinion on Gujarat Titans bowling?
Yeah, I mean, in particular, it was Rashid Khan and Hardik Pandya. Like the 8 overs that they bowled for a total of not many runs, 30, 35, 36 runs between them, 35 runs between them. It was a really good performance from both of them. They picked up 4 wickets and both went for under 5 and over. It was just that control they got in the middle overs was just so important. And the fact that Pandya came out and removed Butler, Padikkal, and Hetmeyer, who were all very dangerous players. Oh, sorry. Butler, Samson, and Hetmeyer, and Rashid Khan picked up Devdutt Padikkal. That is just, they are 4 big wickets that you want to take when you're trying to restrict a team's total. And I mean, Hardik was just bowling really difficult lengths. He wasn't doing anything clever. He was just landing it on the same spot over and over again, challenging that hard length with a good line and changing his paces up a little bit. And then Rashid Khan was just bowling his normal Rashid Khan wizardry and outfoxing people left, right, and centre. And I think all of that just compounded in Rajasthan severely underperforming with the bat. They were backed up quite well by Shami and Yashdal and Ferguson too. The only real bowler that got hit was Sai Kishore, which everyone can have an off day. But yeah, I think just they combined really well. And in the end, I think they finished a bit short, didn't they?
Yeah, definitely. There were probably at least 30 runs too short, especially when you ask to bat first in a final. 130 is just not, it's not enough. You can have a go at it, and if you get a couple of wickets early, then that might help. But you really want over 160 in the final, especially given how well Gujarat Titans have finished. And yeah, I just think all in all, like you said, James, like the thought of batting first, maybe not great when Butler is so good at finishing. Gujarat are also good at finishing. So why bat first? I guess it's runs on the board in the final is kind of the mentality. But yeah, it wasn't enough in the end. And I think it showed how valuable Hardik Pandya is as a bowler. When he's fit, everyone's been talking about it. I'm like, he's nothing special with the ball, but actually this tournament, he's proved everyone wrong. He's proved everyone that he can deliver with the ball, especially under pressure. But yeah, that brings us on to the Gujarat innings, and it was just too easy for them, really. I guess Trent Bolt bowled well, and Yuzvendra Chahal bowled well, as we'd expect. But there was nothing. It was just too easy for them in the final. I mean, Shubman Gill played a very good knock to kind of guide them home. And Hardik Pandya was ably supporting him, playing that anchor role that he's played all tournament. And then David Miller doing David Miller things.
Yeah, I was really impressed with David Miller. I've been all season. I think we've said this in a couple of podcasts actually, where before the auction, or just after the auction, when Gujarat released their new team, we were thinking, David Miller, not sure about that, because he spent the season with Rajasthan the year before, and I think he got very few games, and he didn't really play that well. And that's been the story of the last 5 years of David Miller. He's been really inconsistent. 1 year or one game, you'll think this guy is legit. He could be like the best player in the world. The next game, he is utterly useless and he'll throw his wicket away. But this season, he's shown what his potential could have been. And wow, yet again, he made a very, what was, I can assume, a very difficult batting track look incredibly easy to bat on. He was batting at a strike rate of 168 when everybody else was struggling to get over a strike rate of 100. So it was very fluent from him. And also Shubman Gill, he showed his class as well, because he is such a talented batsman. And yeah, he just stuck around and he rotated the strike, hit the bad balls. And yeah, it was exactly what you need when you're chasing a low total, just a level head. So yeah, Gujarat made it look very easy in the end. I don't know what you thought about Gujarat's overall IPL performance, Benj.
They look really good, didn't they? I think they set their stall out at the start of the tournament as potential candidates to win. They've had good rotation. They've had good leadership, I think, from Hardik. I think he's captained very well, known his own limits the whole time. And I think the bit that we questioned about Gujarat at the start when they'd initially picked their team was a lack of batting depth and also a lack of bowling options if Hardik didn't bowl. And I think having a fit Hardik Pandya was really the difference there. I mean, I'd have been okay with either Gujarat or Rajasthan winning. It would have been quite nice for Rajasthan to win, given the story about Shane Warne. But you can see a little bit of the 2008 Rajasthan in this Gujarat side, where like they weren't the best team on paper. They had a few really good players, but no one who was like, well, they do have a few star players, but like the overall, quality of the side compared to others, especially once they lost Jason Roy, was questionable. And yeah, I think they just really credited themselves being a team that if one person had a bad day, someone else would come and pick up the slack. And they found a good balance at the end. And I think, yeah, overall, I think they deserve that IPL victory. And I'm excited to see what they do next year.
James, you go.
I was going to say, I think this season we've seen, because it was mega auction season, so almost every single team changed. The ones that really tried to retain their players died. See Chennai. And, it was almost every single team had to get used to being we're basically new. I know very few of you here, and we don't know how we work as a combination. So from that perspective, I actually think that the two new teams had quite an advantage because they didn't have any of that infrastructure to begin with. They didn't have that history of, well, last year, we've always worked this way with these players. And everything was new, and they were able to start from the ground up. And I think that's one of the big reasons why we saw them both in the playoffs. And yeah, I think, well, just imagine if Gujarat had Jason Roy instead of Matthew Wade this season. I think it would have been an absolute walkover.
Yeah.
But yeah, what's your opinion on that? Like, the whole mega auction starting everybody off again, Zach?
I think it gave teams like Lucknow Super Giants, who also qualified for the playoffs, and Gujarat that extra advantage in terms of being able to pick the players who weren't in the team. Because Rashid Khan, he was the first pick for the 100 last year by the Trent Rockets. And there's a reason for that. It's because he's the best 2020 bowler in the world. So you're obviously going to get him first. Hardik Pandya has proven himself to be one of the best all-rounders in 2020 cricket. So just being able to have those initial picks just allowed them to build a team around those core players. And I think that was a big thing for Gujarat. And I also think for Gujarat, when we looked at the teams on paper, we pinpointed the teams that seemed to have really good top quality batsmen, but we were looking at the top end. We were looking at the likes of Shikhar Dhawan opening with Mayank Agarwal for Punjab Kings, or Faf du Plessis opening with Virat Kohli for Royal Challengers. And although that draws you in, what you miss is the middle orders. And Gujarat Titans had a very good 4, 5, 6, which meant that they could really push through those middle overs and finish strongly at the death. So it didn't really matter if they had a bad power play, because they had the players to then back it up. And I think that was a big thing. And also being able to have bowlers who bowled really well in the power play. Teams that struggled to be consistent struggled in that power play, and it was a bit more of a lottery, whereas Gujarat were very consistent in the power play.
They also, their 4-5-6, sorry, just quickly.
Yeah,
their 4-5-6, we looked at them before as Pandya, Miller, and Tuatia. Those have not been consistent performers. Like, there have been many situations. Like last season, Hardik Pandya was useless. The last 5 years, David Miller's been, either useless or good. And Tuatia as well wasn't like a completely proven batsman. He'd won a few games. So they were wild card picks, and it really paid off for Gujarat. So I think I still stand by my opinion at the start that I didn't think Gujarat were going to be good, but they just showed what a tight team where everybody puts in a shift can do.
I think it answers the question to me in that someone like, I don't know, David Miller, for years, it's been a case of, we'll set the platform for David Miller to come in the last 5 overs and smash it. Chennai Super Kings will set the platform for Dhoni to come in and finish the game. And Kevin Peterson said something interesting in the past about the fact that batsmen retire. He was like, batsmen shouldn't retire themselves out, because you'd rather have a set batsman who might not have a big strike rate usually than someone who's new coming in. And I think that's big, because Gujarat, they didn't have the players who would set the platform or the players who would finish the innings. They had players who could do both. And I think that's why they ended up being able to finish innings really well. But anyway, we need to move on because of time. But we have had some interesting predictions. I think James has been the best predictor out of all of us. Benji has easily been the worst, but he's just cursed in that aspect. So yeah, James, we had some stats from PD.
Oh, the guy is putting an absolute shift, and a huge shout out to you, PD. You are the official Cricket Nerd stats guru. So the numbers: Benji attempted 28 predictions, and he only got 35.71% of them correct. So that's pretty much 2/3 of your predictions, Benji, were just completely wrong. So
it was the
excellent
curse.
Form.
It was the curse of the second half that did it, I think.
Yeah, sure. But and we added a note here that you correctly predicted that Joss Butler would make a century in match 30. So well done, you. Looking at Zach, you attempted 27 predictions. And of them, you got 13 correct. So that's a 48.15% accuracy. So it's not bad, just about halfway. And note, you correctly predicted the toss, choice, and result of Mumbai versus Gujarat match 51. So that's
a good feeling.
That's premium. You should have put money on that.
Wait, which match? Which match number was that?
Match 51,
match number
Mumbai
51
versus GT.
Was that the one where Mumbai won as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was. So that was a very good one. I predicted, made 24 prediction attempts, and I got 14 correct. So I got 58.34% accuracy. So I'm basically the cleverest. So that's what we've established. PD's got it down in numbers. Thank you very much, PD. Zach, the cricket nerds have finished with the IPL for this year. What's next? What are we going to do?
Well, we've got some exciting things ahead. We've got South Africa versus India are playing a 5-match T20 series. And I think that'll be a great one to cover because it's happening just after the IPL in early to mid-June. And I'm going to say that South Africa actually looks stronger on paper. So we can't do anything about that. But yeah, I think South Africa looks stronger than India going into this. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Predict what you think is going to be the score of the 5-match series. We're also going to be covering the stuff that's going on in the English summer. So England are playing 2 3-match series test matches against South Africa and New Zealand coming first. And we've also got the completion of the England versus India series, which that's going to be a big game. And also the 100 as well. And we'll also bring more news from the county championship and anything else that we feel we want to talk about. So yeah, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be a good summer. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. We hope you've enjoyed this somewhat daily podcast that we've been doing for the IPL. We have missed the odd day, but that's okay. And thank you all for subscribing. Keep subscribing. We want to get to 400 by the end of the year at least. So just keep it going. And make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you tell your friends about us. Listen to us on all your podcast platforms, Anchor FM, Spotify, you name it, we're on it, probably. And I think that's everything. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your support during this IPL, and we look forward to seeing you later. Goodbye.